The hype train isn't merely arriving in Cleveland, it's thundering through the gates, shattering years of skepticism and stirring the ashes of broken dreams. And at the eye of this storm is Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round pick with a legacy surname that commands attention and a relentless work ethic that silences doubters. This isn't your typical off-season Cinderella tale where a rookie dazzles for a few practices, fans cheer, and reality soon reclaims its throne. No, this is upheaval. This is the tremor before the quake. A cultural reset wrapped in shoulder pads and soaked ambition. That now viral footage of Shedeur grinding alone in the rain, it wasn't just visually compelling. It was symbolic. In a league obsessed with image, this wasn't curated content. No entourage, no glossy camera angles, just rain-slicked turf, drenched gloves, and a quarterback possessed by purpose. And it sparked a question Cleveland's been too afraid to ask for years. What if the best quarterback on the roster isn't the most expensive, the most seasoned, or the most hyped? What if he's a 22-year-old machine, built brick by brick in Deion Sanders' House of Iron? You can feel the shift in the air. The veterans sense it, the coaching staff senses it, and the fans, they already know. Shedeur isn't gently knocking on opportunity's door, he's kicking it off the hinges. While the Browns front office plays the politics of depth charts with whispered caution, the truth is already loud. There's a revolution unfolding at quarterback, and the only question now is whether Cleveland will lead it or get trampled by it. Before the social clips, before the ESPN takes, before the whispers leaked from Berea to the national stage, Shedeur Sanders was already in the shadows, grinding before the sun came up and long after the field lights faded. No cameras, no endorsements, no clout-chasing crew, just a soaked field, a soaked QB, and the kind of grueling repetition that never trends, yet always shows up on Sundays. What separates Shedeur from every other off-season darling? He didn't want the cameras. That viral video wasn't a PR stunt. It was leaked, captured by a stunned team assistant who stumbled upon a lone warrior executing footwork drills in midnight rain like a surgeon rehearsing a high-stakes operation. He wasn't posing, he was preparing. Deep outs, perfect timing, wind whipping, hands freezing, and he stayed, and he kept throwing. The rawness of it hit hard because it didn't feel like marketing, it felt like obsession. That's what lit the spark, not a TikTok, not a coach's praise, but proof that Shedeur isn't chasing media relevance, he's chasing greatness. When that clip started circulating within the Browns' own walls, the energy shifted. Conversations turned from whispers to declarations. Coaches raised eyebrows, players started texting, "Yo, you seen this?" And they started showing up earlier too, because when your quarterback's in the rain at midnight, grinding, how dare you stroll in late the next day? But let's be real. Viral moments don't earn you starting jobs. Production does. And what Shedeur is doing in camp, that's where the myth meets measurement. We all love the underdog narrative. Grit, grind, solitude. But if it doesn't translate into execution on the field, it's just soggy theater. Only Shedeur is producing. He's not just working hard. He's outperforming the entire quarterback room. Let this sink in. 75% completion rate in camp as a rookie against NFL speed. These aren't soft drills with hand-picked targets. These are full-sped reps with second and third string receivers battling professional defenders. And yet, he's delivering darts on time, on script, with calm precision. In red zone work, where space vanishes and pressure mounts, Shedeur has been surgical. No wasted motion, no happy feet, just clinical reads and lasers into tight windows. He's already calling audibles at the line, something most rookies earn months down the line, if at all. He's anticipating throws like a seasoned vet, hitting receivers before they break. But down on the gridiron, there are no inflated contracts, no media spin cycles, no legacy favoritism, just raw execution. And Shedeur Sanders? His performance speaks louder than any podium soundbite. Kevin Stefanski sees it. That's why you're witnessing an uptick in red zone reps, more first-team action, and subtle shifts that suggest the head coach is leaning toward riding with the quarterback the locker room already trusts. And yet, even as Shedeur wins over teammates with grit and poise, the outside world remains slow to embrace him. Because when your last name is Sanders and your father is Primetime, The media isn't merely watching, they're lurking, waiting, and often judging through a distorted lens. Let's be honest, if Shedeur had any other surname, the storyline would already be reframed. ESPN would be flooding the airwaves with inspiring montages. Analysts would be hailing him as the second coming. SportsCenter would be backing his throws with soft piano music under a Born for This segment. But because his father is Deion Coach Prime, Sanders bold, unfiltered, unapologetically black, the narrative doesn't bend, it breaks. The tone turns, the goalposts shift, and the scrutiny intensifies. Let's call it what it is. Shedeur Sanders has been examined under a microscope since he first laced up cleats, not because of what he's done, but because of who raised him. To many in the media, Shedeur can't simply be a quarterback. He has to be a statement. If he excels, they claim it's because of privilege. If he falters, they label him entitled. Never mind the relentless training. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders. A name echoing through the halls of the Cleveland Browns facility with more weight than anyone anticipated. What began as a quiet addition during a 3-day minicamp has now evolved into something far more consequential. Inside sources have revealed that veteran players not prone to hyperbole are describing Sanders not merely as promising, but as a potential franchise cornerstone. These aren't offhand compliments, they're calculated assessments behind closed doors, and they carry significant influence with decision makers. One senior assistant reportedly called Sanders Sunday ready after a single walkthrough, an astonishing remark for any rookie, let alone a late-round pick. In Berea, Sanders is no longer seen as a developmental afterthought. He's now being discussed as a viable long-term solution under center. And that buzz, it's not coming from PR hype or media conjecture. It's emanating from battle-tested teammates who have played in January and understand what real talent looks like. This is not the typical feel-good camp narrative about a rookie getting extra reps. This is something deeper, more deliberate. Veteran players have started to adjust their routes to Sanders' timing. Coaches are pausing film to highlight his progressions and ball placement. Linebackers and defensive backs who've seen a revolving door of quarterbacks are quietly reassessing the depth chart. And here's the real tell. They're nodding. Not in skepticism, but in approval. Shedeur isn't commanding attention because of his surname. He's earning it with nuanced pocket movement, next-level processing, and unshakable poise. His command of the offense is measured, methodical, and undeniably mature. In the huddle, he speaks with precision. In drills, he delivers with intent. And while other young quarterbacks might flinch under scrutiny, Sanders radiates the calm of a veteran. The strategic upside for Cleveland is massive, with Deshaun Watson occupying a significant chunk of the salary cap and offering inconsistent returns. The Browns have quietly assembled a quarterback room of cost-effective options. Sanders, on a 4-year rookie deal, represents the ideal balance between upside and fiscal prudence. He's not just a developmental experiment, he's a calculated investment. Outside the building, the chatter still revolves around Joe Flacco's age or Kenny Pickett's inconsistency. But inside, they're studying Sanders' mechanics, noting how his footwork is tightened, how his reads have accelerated, and how his throws arrive with authority. There's a collective awareness growing. This might be the quarterback Cleveland's been searching for. The veterans are taking notice. And when veterans speak with conviction during a quarterback competition, coaches listen, especially in a franchise that has started 9 quarterbacks over 2 seasons, an indictment of instability more than depth. What they see in Sanders is composure. What they feel is potential. And Sanders? He isn't complaining about reps. He isn't stirring up noise. He shows up early, studies hard, and handles himself like a pro. He's transitioning from social media figure to legitimate on-field presence. And yes, ESPN now includes him on their early first-team candidates list. That announcement sparked instant debate. Supporters point to his arm talent, leadership, and rapid growth. Skeptics call it premature, claiming it's more about the Sanders brand than the box score. But regardless of opinion, one thing is clear. The football world is watching closely. Sanders' rise has overtaken other storylines. Conference realignment, NIL controversy, transfer portal drama. The focus has shifted squarely onto him. Is he a marketing phenomenon or the real deal? Only time and reps will tell, but in Cleveland, they're already planning reps with the first team for late July. And if he replicates the same success against starters that he's had against the backups, the conversation around QB1 in Cleveland is going to change fast. So while the media spins narratives and fans argue over highlight reels, the Browns are doing something smarter. They're watching. quietly, strategically, and perhaps, just perhaps, they've stumbled into the kind of quarterback stability this franchise hasn't had in decades. The case of Shedeur Sanders is quickly evolving into one of the most polarizing narratives in recent football memory. As some fans celebrate his ascension, others remain skeptical, igniting a public debate that now extends far beyond the field. Supporters herald Sanders as a transformational talent whose charisma, skill, and poise are challenging old-school quarterback archetypes. Detractors argue that his acclaim stems more from his father's legacy than from on-field dominance. The truth? It likely lies somewhere in between, but the intensity of the conversation is undeniable. In Browns camp, the atmosphere changed the moment Sanders laced up. He didn't just participate, he captivated. His pocket presence disrupted veteran defenses, his timing exposed coverage gaps, and his cadence manipulated even experienced linebackers. From the first snap, it was evident. This rookie wasn't just another camp body. He operated with an efficiency and confidence that rendered Cleveland's disguises obsolete. Coaches and analysts alike noted how quickly Sanders adapted. He processed full-field reads with veteran composure, adjusted protections pre-snap, and threw with consistent ball placement. Against zone, he feathered passes between closing defenders. Against pressure, he climbed the pocket, reset, and delivered strikes. When the Browns' defense rolled into complex coverage shells, Sanders unraveled them with his eyes, his feet, and his release. Veterans, notoriously slow to praise, began studying his mechanics. Wide receivers synced their routes to his rhythm. Defenders whispered that the depth chart might be tighter than advertised. By week's end, the locker room dynamic had shifted. Respect was no longer withheld, it was earned. The Browns' coaching staff, sensing the tide, reportedly increased his reps. Not out of obligation, but out of intrigue. Off the field, however, the story takes a more volatile turn. ESPN's first-team mention sparked immediate backlash. Critics claim such honors should be reserved for proven veterans, not untested rookies. Yet supporters argue that Sanders' poise, polish, and leadership reflect a maturity well beyond his years. The real issue lies in the broader cultural shift. Performance alone no longer dictates visibility, marketability does. This tension came to a head when the New York Giants released a partial recording of their pre-draft meeting with Sanders. The clip sparked controversy, with fans demanding full transparency and accusing the organization of manipulating perception. Sanders' camp, along with the Browns, reportedly threatened legal action if additional footage was released without context. As social media floods with speculation, Sanders remains composed. He continues to show up early, stay late, and operate with quiet determination. He's not ranting in interviews. He's not rattled by gossip. He's letting his play speak. In a quarterback room filled with question marks, aging veterans, developmental prospects, and inconsistent performers, Sanders has become the most compelling figure. And while it's still early, one fact is clear: Shedeur Sanders has flipped the script. Whether this results in a starting job or just heightened expectations remains to be seen, but anyone ignoring his rise does so at their own risk. The Browns may have stumbled into stability, leadership, and vision in the most unexpected of packages. Shedeur Sanders isn't just chasing the job. He's redefining what it means to deserve it. Internal deliberations within the organization appear to have prematurely disqualified quarterbacks with notable family legacies, exposing a glaring disconnect between internal decision-making and public perception. The fallout was immediate. A single, selectively edited clip ignited a firestorm across social media, prompting fans to question why key portions of the interview were omitted and what, precisely, the team was attempting to obscure. Detractors argue that if the full exchange was innocuous, the franchise should have no hesitation releasing it unedited. The digital discourse escalated rapidly and continues to surge with intensity. League insiders have revealed that during pre-draft evaluations, particularly film sessions and combine meetings, teams often embed deliberate errors into their installations to assess attention to detail. Shedeur Sanders reportedly missed one such planted mistake, and when a coach addressed it, the interaction reportedly didn't sit well. Complicating matters, the quarterback market is tightening. Pittsburgh is rumored to have a handshake agreement with Aaron Rodgers, and Tennessee is locking in on Kalen Moore. The Giants' decision to withhold the complete footage has backfired. Rather than diminishing interest in Sanders, it has exponentially amplified it. Analysts and media outlets are now scrutinizing every throw, every huddle command, and every press interaction, parsing them as case studies in poise under pressure. Each rep on the field has become a referendum on Sanders' character. Fans increasingly suspect that the true issue is not with Sanders himself, but rather with the shadow cast by his father, NFL legend Deion. The partial release is widely viewed as an underhanded attempt to cast doubt by association, yet the strategy has only bolstered Shedeur's appeal. The conversation has shifted. This is no longer about draft rankings. It's about fortitude, transparency, and narrative manipulation. Even if the Giants eventually offer more context, the exposure they've given Sanders is irreversible. What was once a private evaluation has become a national spectacle. The NFL draft is not merely a sporting event. It's a high-stakes psychological chess match filled with misinformation, smokescreens, and occasional truth. Every year, one prospect takes a steep and highly publicized plunge. In 2025, that name was Shedeur Sanders. It has happened before, Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino, and it will happen again, but this time, the media narrative is unraveling in real time. Inside the Giants building, communications now appear less focused on honest evaluation and more on orchestrating a narrative that portrays Sanders as an overrated, emotionally volatile figure. Ironically, these selective leaks and strategic criticisms have produced the opposite effect, increasing his visibility, fortifying his underdog status, and drawing public sympathy. The controversy has transcended football. It has become a referendum on media ethics and institutional transparency. Despite mounting pressure, the Giants have refused to release the full interview. This obstinance has only intensified speculation. The franchise has underestimated the power of digital momentum. Clips are dissected frame by frame, audio is analyzed for missing context, and hashtags demanding transparency trend daily. Commentators abandon other stories to spotlight Sanders. Rival teams are quietly reviewing their own handling of similar interviews, aware that this situation has become a cautionary tale. What was once a coordinated strategy now looks like an uncontrollable PR blaze. Each preseason snap, press conference, and sideline moment feeds a media loop asking, what are they still hiding? Unless someone releases the full file or addresses the redactions publicly, the cloud will persist. The debate no longer centers on talent evaluations. It fixates on secrecy, perception management, and how quickly mishandled scrutiny becomes permanent damage. Then came a new twist, Sanders' off-field conduct. Multiple speeding tickets surfaced, including one for exceeding the limit by over 40 mph, followed shortly by a missed arraignment. Critics quickly reframed these infractions as signs of entitlement or immaturity. Suddenly, the conversation veered from football mechanics to moral judgment. Never mind the sacrifice, the sweat, the blood-soaked grind. Never mind that Shedeur is trained like a pro quarterback since before he could legally drive. All of that gets overshadowed by his father's legacy. As Ralph Wiley might put it, when a young black man displays excellence, they call it arrogance, but when others do the same, it's celebrated as leadership. That's the double standard Shedeur faces, and still, he never flinches. Here's the great irony. The very thing critics use to discredit him, Deion's legacy, is the same force that made Shedeur exceptionally prepared. You think being primetime son made it easier? Ask anyone who's competed with the weight of a legend's name stitched on their jersey. There's no learning curve, no silent mistakes. Every interception gets replayed, every word dissected, every gesture magnified. And yet Shedeur continues to rise. He's been running 2-minute drills since age 10, breaking down film with NFL veterans in middle school, getting quarterback tutelage from Hall of Famers in his own kitchen. And somehow, the narrative still circles back to, he's not ready. He might be a distraction. That's not analysis. That's bias dressed up in polished language and served through a media machine that bristles when young black quarterbacks rise too fast, speak too clearly, or come from families that refuse to shrink. What makes Shedeur so dangerous to that system? He doesn't play their game. He doesn't apologize for his preparation. He doesn't flinch under the spotlight.